Good evening, everyone. It is 5:45. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5:45. I'd like to call the September 11th, 2025 work session of the Staunton City Council to order. I will entertain a motion to approve an appointment of an acting city clerk.
Mayor Edwards,
Yes, Counselor Woods.
I move to appoint John Blair as the acting city clerk for the September 11th, 2025 Stanton City Council work session and regular meeting.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Blair, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. I will now entertain a motion to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Further discussion? 2 seconds.
Park, Woods.
It was really in stereo, Mr. Blair.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Rock, paper, scissors to decide
Yeah.
who it was.
Woods has seniority, so we'll go there.
Okay.
Further discussion? You please call the roll, Mr. Blair?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards,
Aye.
motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is an update from the General Registrar, Christy Linhaus, regarding early voting and the November election. I can't believe it's already happening.
I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Lynn Haas to the podium to give us a preview of voting
Hello.
election.
So the upcoming election is November 4th already. On the ballot this year is going to be the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, member, House of Delegates, the 36th district, and the local offices of the Commonwealth Attorney, Sheriff, Commissioner, Revenue, and Treasurer. Currently, we have 19,062 registered voters, and our historic turnout for the governor race is about 70%. So we expect just as much turnout as we had for the presidential last year. We are currently at about 1,200 absentee ballots to be mailed out. Fun fact from last November, we had more voters cast their ballot either in person or by mail during early voting than we did at the polls on election day. By like
Yeah.
1,000 people. Yeah, so that was nifty. Early voting is going to start on September 19th and will run through November 1st, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we will also be open on the 2 Saturdays, October 25th and November 1st. Same 3 curbside spots, the one on top of Central Avenue across from the mural and the 2 spots in the old SunTrust parking lot. Deadline to register to vote or update your current registration or to request an absentee ballot is now October 24th. The registration date got changed during the last General Assembly from 21 days prior to Election Day to 11. So it makes those dates the same and it's closer to Election Day. Same day registration is still always an option on Election Day or during early voting after the close of books. And that's it. We're ready. We did LNA testing today on all of our equipment and
Mhm.
we're good to go.
And folks will be lined up in the foyer.
Yes,
here.
we are still doing everything here in front of council chambers. I haven't had any complaints. Everyone
went well.
seemed to like it last year.
Yeah.
It has a lot of opportunity for setting if they need their clipboards and things like that. I think it's better for customer service for sure.
And there'll also be the voting out there for those who need it.
Curbside, absolutely.
curbside.
Yep, any reason. We'll come get you. If your kid's
Okay.
asleep in the back seat, we'll come out.
sure, yeah.
It's totally fine.
More questions? Thank you, Ms. Lindhouse. We appreciate
You're
everything you
welcome.
do.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we have next a presentation by Waynesboro Area Refuge Ministry for the establishment of a day center for unsheltered persons.
I would like to introduce Alec Gunn. He is the executive director of WARM. And we have talked about this previously in a previous work session. And I thought it'd be good for Mr. Gunn to, well, you all requested that Mr. Gunn actually come forward and talk about the proposal, what the plans are, specifically the budget proposal that you all have been talking about. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gunn to present and answer any questions.
Thank you. I'd first like to thank the mayor and vice mayor and all the honorable members of city council for just allowing me to have this opportunity to talk to y'all about this. I wanted to just give y'all a brief introduction, overview of the budget and exactly what the day center is going to be looking to do. So I'm going to be reading from my notes here. So the day center is going to provide a safe and welcoming environment for individuals experiencing homelessness, offering rest, connection to resources and support in a dignified setting. Many of our neighbors face barriers to stability, including lack of shelter, transportation, and access to basic services. By operating this center, we provide not only immediate relief, but also pathways to long-term stability for referrals, workshops, and compassionate care. This budget will outline the essential operating costs for a homeless day center, ensuring a safe, accessible, and supportive space for individuals in need. The largest portion of the budget is $30,000, and that's going to support staff, providing part-time oversight and coordination to maintain consistent operation. Rent and utilities will be a combined of $5,000, and this is all annual, to ensure a reliable facility where guests can access resources, stay warm in winter and cool in the summer. A supply budget of $4,000 to cover critical needs such as cleaning materials, office items, and hygiene products. A transportation assistance of $2,000 provides bus passes and fuel support for helping guests access medical care, employment opportunities, and housing resources. Insurance and license will be about $2,000 to ensure the center meets all legal requirements and remain protected against liability risk. And the program costs of $1,500 so that would be to fund classes, workshops, and resources, referrals that support long-term stability for participants. An emergency assistance fund of $2,000 would allow for the center to respond flexibly to urgent needs, while a contingency reserve of $2,000 provides a cushion for unexpected expenses. Together, the overall cost would be about $48,500 just to build a foundation and maintain this day center. Any
So,
questions?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
hi, Mr. Gunn. The day center, what are the hours and what are the months that'll be open? Is this all around?
So the times for the day center would be from 7 till 5. And at this moment, we are hoping that this would be an all year round thing, but not every day. So maybe we're looking at it as pilot wise, maybe 2 to 3 days a week that it would be ran. I mean, I impress upon people that this is to help individuals move out of homelessness. That's the reason we want to do this, to provide them for a place where they can, have dignity and be with other individuals as they work themselves out of this situation.
So the budget that you just proposed, will that be for the 2 to 3 days and for the year round?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greg, can you also tell us about partners,
Absolutely.
organizations you're partnering with on this?
So Embrace from Waynesboro, actually the Waynesboro, Staunton, and Augusta County, they work the whole area. So we will be partnering with them. Janelle Watson is the head of that. And they have the CAN network, which is the Community Assistance Network, which helps unhoused neighbors get connected to step up services to help, move them through situations, to help them find housing, help them find money for supplies and just things like that. So we will be working with them. We're also partnering with the Augusta Health Mobile Clinic that will be showing up at least once or twice a week to help individuals with medical needs and assist them, getting physicals and things like that. If there are vaccines that need to be done, like flu, COVID, things like that, they will be able to do that. We're also hoping and praying to work with Habitat for Humanity. They have a mobile shower system that they are in the works on finishing. And we're hoping to have that out there to provide the opportunity for the unsheltered neighbors to have moments to get showered and get cleaned up just for hygiene purposes. We're also working with the Mary Baldwin aspect of their social workers over there. So we're looking to work with them to have social workers to be able to come in and just talk with individuals and help them through situations where there may be some mental health issues and things like that going on.
Mr. Gunn, do you have a general idea of once you're up and going about what the monthly cost for Warm to run this will be?
The monthly cost, I have not broken that down, but I can look into that and yes, absolutely.
Mr. Gunn, I was taking notes as fast as I could, but is there like a written proposal you can send us?
I will,
Kind
I
of recapping
can,
everything?
I can send you all of this.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Yeah, I was sure.
Appreciate it.
No, I'm sorry. I talk really fast. I'm sorry. Sometimes.
No,
do.
I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate it. And I appreciate all your work. I'm talked to you at Capsaw. And that's
Yes, yes.
So this is very exciting. And where to get it going.
Yes.
So when we talk about, Mr. Gunn, I'm sorry if anybody.
No, okay.
So when we talk about the day center, and you saying maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and we know there's other days in the week where we don't know where the folks are going. Is this a short-term goal as 2 to 3 days a week where it'll feed into long-term when you can have it open 5 days a week?
This is correct. The reason I impose upon people when I say the day center, because I want also to make individuals know that this is not a shelter. People will not be staying there. And we're not trying to build a spot where people are just hanging out. We want to have a spot where individuals are coming and we want to work themselves out of this situation. And we want to give them the support that they need to work themselves out of homelessness. So but the prayer and the plan is that yes, it will be open at least 5 times a week. So depending on the amount of individuals that we're seeing come in and how much support they're needing.
Thank you.
Also, Mr. Gunn, I've heard you talk about an outreach ministry as well, so the days that you're not hosting a center,
Mhm.
hosting services in the building.
Yes.
You might have your staff out walking the
Yes,
streets,
well,
going to
absolutely.
tent cities.
We already do that now in the spring and summer months of the year.
Mhm.
And of course, I mean, I don't know how much y'all know about, Waynesboro Area Refuge Ministry. During the winter months, the coldest weeks of the year, we have a shelter that goes on, every day in the evenings. So there's that aspect that's going on as well. So what we're trying to do is to combine all of it together so it's all working to help these unsheltered neighbors move, like I said, build stability. So there would be outreach that would happen. That's the reason, we would have to bring this staff in because the staff that would be working this and the days that they're not working, that's what they would be doing. They would be.
Mhm. Right.
It's a great proposal. It meets an important need in the community. It fits in the whole continuum of services to support homelessness and to get people permanently into homes. Just a question about the sustainability. I assume the 48,000, those are mostly annual recurring costs every year. So we've been talking about a one-time 30,000 contribution. What are other funding sources? Do you
So,
have a plan, a budget?
I'm glad you asked that. What we're going to be looking at is seeking donors. We're also working with some other community foundations and things like that that will help us with costs. Of course, what they would be able to provide would only be for a certain amount of time too. So, it's going to be, seeking donations, seeking, doing fundraising and things like that. That's it's going to come to that. But we're hopeful.
And as a nonprofit, that's the nature of nonprofits.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's how it works.
And there's an agreement with the church on an
First
ongoing
Presbyterian, you know
basis.
what, I'm so sorry I did not add them
They're
in
a
as,
partner.
that's a big time partner. So yes, First Presbyterian, yes. They are very much on board with doing this and they are like extremely excited about getting this started. So yes.
Any other questions?
Are they charging anything for?
Rent, you say, and it's part of it. That's what the rent and facility costs and yearly 5,000. Yep.
Mr. Gunn, if you could email just whatever you have right on your piece of paper, don't make it fancy. If you could email that to
Oh,
Ms.
you ain't gotta worry
Beauregard,
about it. I'm not a fancy guy. so
yeah. She'll share it with us. We
I will definitely
appreciate
send that.
that.
I will
would
make
be-
make sure that is top of my agenda to do tomorrow morning. I will send it to you. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We
you.
Look forward to seeing how this goes. And would you please meet this young lady?
I will.
Right there. Ms. Anderson, this is Mr. Gunn. All righty, moving right along. Next on our agenda is the final item on our agenda. It is a work session. I will entertain a motion. No, it's not a work, I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion to enter a closed meeting.
Oh, I can make a motion.
Is it long? Is that like
No,
everyone's hesitating?
I can, Madam Mayor, I can make a motion.
Yes.
I move to enter into a closed meeting for discussion of or consideration of the acquisition of real property located on Johnson Street within the city of Staunton for a public purpose where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A3.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Is there a second? Is
I'll second.
there any discussion about this? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You're now in closed session. We'll be back here at 7 and I hope to see many of you, if not all of you then. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to reconvene in an open meeting.
Madam Mayor, I
Councilor
move
Brooke.
that council reconvene in an open meeting and certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only lawfully exempted public business matters were discussed and that only public business matters as identified in the closed meeting motion were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Park. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Sir Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd. Aye. Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye. It's now 7 o'clock and I'd like to call the September 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the Staunton City Council to order. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. This evening's invocation comes to us from Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Thank you, Mayor. tonight's meeting lands on a somber occasion, at the somber date of September 11th. I just want to take a moment to remember all the first responders who've given their lives over the years, and those continue to serve out front in any emergency, whether fire, emergency services, police, that I'd just like to have a moment of silence to think of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wood. This evening, we're going to start with a proclamation. September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. I will read this proclamation and then I will invite a guest to come up and accept this proclamation. Hopefully, we will hear a few words. Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, September 2025. Whereas ovarian cancer is one of the most common forms of cancer among women and is responsible for more deaths than any other type of female reproductive cancer. And whereas it is estimated that more than 20,000 women in the United States will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2025, and nearly 13,000 women will die from this disease in 2025. And whereas in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it is estimated that 490 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2025, and approximately 340 women in the Commonwealth will die of this disease this year. And whereas increasing public understanding of ovarian cancer, including risk factors, signs and symptoms, is essential to improving early detection, enhancing outcomes, and supporting women throughout their journey with this disease. Now therefore be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that September 2025 is hereby designated as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Staunton, and we encourage the citizens of our community to honor the strength of the survivors, support those currently undergoing treatment, and remember the lives lost fighting this disease. Is Debbie Armstrong here to accept this award? Hello.
Well, would you like me here?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you all so very much for doing this. I do advocacy work for my mother's memory. I work with the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance, and I serve as a facilitator. I teach med students at UVA all about ovarian cancer. We, several women are survivors, and they share their experiences. It's very meaningful, very helpful to get the next generation of medical professionals to at least have it in their differential diagnosis when their patients come to them with oftentimes symptoms that sound a lot like other things: bloating, early satiety, meaning you get full quickly, constipation, fatigue, a lot of things that sound like a lot of other things. So I'm very honored to do the advocacy work. I'm getting a proclamation from the governor in a couple weeks, third year getting that. Very, very appreciative. And my mother was a victim of ovarian cancer and fought it very hard for 3 years. And she would be very, very happy that you all did that for her memory and to help increase awareness of the disease. Thank
And
you.
your mother was Judy Armstrong.
My
who
mother was Judy, and she was diagnosed at age 82, which is awfully old. The mean age is usually around 64, but it can be any age at all. It can be young women, it can be even into adolescence and all the way up. So by the time my mom was diagnosed, like many women, the symptoms were vague, and her stage was quite advanced. She fought it hard for 3 years and succumbed in November of 2022. But thank you all so much. I really
you.
appreciate you doing that.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you. You're
Ms.
very welcome.
Armstrong. I'll say a few words about what I've been doing. I had the pleasure of visiting the U.S. Post Office on Augusta Street. I was invited by our own City Connors to celebrate our second year in a row of beating out almost every single city our size in the nation for collecting food for our neighbors. For the Stamp Out Hunger initiative, for the Stamp Out Hunger Drive. And I had a fantastic time. My colleague to the left was there as well. Brad. The Vice Mayor was there as well. And we just have an extremely generous community, and I know that we will surpass our previous goal and continue to support our neighbors in need. So thank you, and thank you, Cindy, for all you do with Stamp Out Hunger. So news from the library. I'm the liaison to the library. Funds are still being raised for camping gear. The library is partnering with a camping organization. Libraries in the area will put camping tents, camping stoves, sleeping bags, even baby carriers if you take your child camping with you. But they have to raise money to purchase these things through this organization. The Friends of the Library have donated $500 toward this effort. So they are close, but still needing donations for that effort if you would like to contribute. I want to point out that at Black Friars Shakespeare Theater, you can get tickets at the library. Two tickets, and the fall shows are Romeo and Juliet, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, and The Pirate Ballad of Bonnie and Reed. That is not Shakespeare. Rather, it is a true story about women in the 18th century who were pirates. Interestingly enough, you can get 2 tickets with your library card and attend a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday evening show. And of course, there's always the usual book clubs, yarn craft club, Jerry Fit, all kinds of great things at our library. Last thing I want to point out is VPASS, the Virginia Program for Aging Services, which serves our area, well, 16 localities in our area. They offer a caregiver support group, and there is one locally. It's on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So the next one is on the 16th. And it's from 2 to 3 p.m. and it's at Aviva Baldwin Park. It's for folks who are caring for an elderly loved one. And if you can't make an in-person meeting, there are virtual meetings. And so you can go to the VPASS website and find out more about that. So that's what I have for this evening. Does anyone else have something they'd like to share? Counselor Overholzer.
I'll just share
Uh-huh.
that I, along with many of you, attended the police ball in support of the Police Foundation, which supports our police and their families. Just a great cause, a great event, recognizing the police and some of the special things that they've done in the last year. So that was a terrific event. I wanted to point out that since the Adopt a Spot program was launched in the summer, five places have been added already in just a course of a few months. And so just wonderful work, and congratulations to Willow Hughes and Environmental Programs, which is part of the Community Development Office in the city of Staunton. Great work working with those volunteer organizations, private individuals, businesses stepping up. The locations are Thorn Rose Avenue, Statler Boulevard, the block around the library, the block which bounded by Montgomery Avenue, Peck Street, and Pierce Street, and Central Avenue and most of Lewis Street. Some of those people taking responsibility to this Adopt a Spot is you can claim a section of stream or a street to clean up the trash and to keep it tidy. So there are environmental benefits, there are aesthetic benefits for the city. It's a great example of a partnership between the city and residents that I think kind of spawns a virtuous cycle where they become engaged, they give some elbow grease and effort to help with the city, they become aware of city needs and issues, they care about those things, and they become more engaged and knowledgeable. And it's a model that I would like to see replicated in lots of other areas, but it's been very successful. And so kudos to the city employees who are running that, and many thanks to the residents and businesses who stepped up and organizations to do that.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone? Yes, ma'am. Counselor Park.
Yes, hi. Hey guys, I just wanted to give a major shout out. One of the best emails I saw all week was that Stanton City Schools is now 35th out of 131 districts in the state of Virginia. And that represents a 70-spot climb in the past seven years, which is the highest increase ever recorded. And so to climb 70 spots in 7 years, just a huge kudos to the teachers, students, staff. I mean, it takes a whole village. So that's just really impressive. So good job. Yay.
Lovely. Counselor Campbell?
Oh, yeah, I'd just like to announce there were big changes to West Beverly Street and Churchville Avenue the past few months. And just want to say I'm appreciative of the Staunton West End Business Association. They're hosting another educational meeting just over a week away, Tuesday, September 23rd. And myself and our new transportation planner, Susan Wilson, will giving a presentation on the benefits of those improvements and kind of the background of how those projects, those improvements on those two streets came to be. So it'll be at the Central Shenandoah EMS on West Beverly Street at 5:30 on Tuesday, September 23rd, again, hosted by the Staunton West End Business Association.
Thank you. Any more things to share?
Hey.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
I have one. On Saturday at 5:30, there's a park in the city of Staunton, Woodrow Park, which is at the top of Sears Hill. It's often overlooked, but it is possibly the best overlook of the city of Staunton. A lot of kids go there and take prom pictures, and it's a lovely place to visit. There was a gentleman, longtime resident of Staunton. He owned McCormick's, was a co-owner of McCormick's. There's an article in the News Leader today about it. And his family has purchased a park bench in his name, and we'll be dedicating that Saturday. So his family's made a nice contribution to our city, improving a really nice park. So we're very grateful to the Fountain family for doing that and making that improvement to our city. So if you can attend, it'd be lovely.
Saturday at 5:30
Yes.
at Woodrow Park. Thank you, Counselor. All righty. Moving on to item A, the consent agenda. Per procedure memorandum number 14, it is the policy of City Council to have routine, non-controversial items placed on a consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. If separate discussion of an item is requested by any member of council, that item shall be removed and considered separately at the end of the regular meeting agenda. Do any members of council wish to remove items from the consent agenda to be placed at the end of the regular meeting agenda for separate consideration? All righty. Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Park. Is there any discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is a public hearing in consideration of amendment to Title 18 zoning of the City of Staunton Code to add Chapter 18.156 residential apiaries. Ms. Beauregard.
Mr. Rhodes told me is it Maggie? Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Maggie or Tim. Maggie Taylor is going to come up and present this item this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council.
Good evening.
Tonight, we are holding a public hearing to consider a new ordinance, Chapter 18.156, which would permit and regulate residential apiaries in the city. So a little background, this initiative began in response to interest from citizens who wanted to practice beekeeping within city limits. Following this interest, the Planning Commission authorized staff to research and develop a draft ordinance. Throughout this process, staff has collaborated with local beekeepers and researched other localities' similar ordinances to ensure the proposed regulations are practical, effective, and reflect best practices in urban beekeeping. So a quick overview of the ordinance. The proposed ordinance establishes clear guidelines for keeping honeybees as an accessory use at single and two-family homes. It includes specific standards for hive placement, fly zone barriers, and access to a water source to ensure the safety and comfort of neighbors. In addition, the definition of bee is aligned directly with Virginia State Code, ensuring the ordinance applies only to managed honeybees used in beekeeping, not other stinging insects. It also includes provisions for responsible hive management, such as swarm prevention, which is crucial for maintaining healthy bee populations in a way that is considerate of the surrounding community. So staff believes that the proposed ordinance provides a clear and enforceable framework, balancing the interests of residents with community welfare through these specific standards for the safety and hive management. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on August 21st, and after receiving no comments against the ordinance, recommended the ordinance for approval on a 5-0 vote, with a minor wording clarification to the language on hive entrances, which simply ensures the 6-foot height requirement applies consistently to all entrances on the hive, just reinforcing the original intent of what was there. And I believe the updated version has been provided to the mayor. And that concludes my staff report. So I will be happy to answer any questions now or at the end of the public hearing.
Have residents been allowed to manage, maintain, not sure what the right word is, bees on any basis until now?
No, it's not permitted right now.
Not officially, yeah.
Officially, yes, thank you.
I have noticed what appear to be bee boxes and I wondered, they're not officially sanctioned then.
Yes. Mhm. One of the things in this ordinance is it gives people 60 days to comply with what's in here and apply for a permit.
Ella, this is permit only, so if somebody come and apply for a permit, and think I read in there, it could be revoked if it doesn't comply with the standards, okay.
Yes. In addition, if there's 3 credible complaints that are verified by the zoning administrator, it could be taken away at that point.
I know Harrisonburg has a very similar urban honeybee ordinance. What were some of the other localities? I'm just curious what you
Yeah.
all compared to.
Let me see here my list. We looked at Fairfax, Newport News, Yorktown, Prince William. We also looked at a few that were outside of Virginia, mainly Ventura, California, and Colorado Springs. We found had good examples. So.
And the ordinance was made, I think the only issue that would come up is obviously safety, that bees were not wandering, swarming. And
Right.
from what I read which I will say is that you're splitting the hive at some point to make them.
Yeah, so that's for swarm management. That's why we have
Right.
in there that temporary increase. So it just makes it so if it does get too big, they can split it up and then if hopefully rehome.
Right,
Um,
right. Otherwise,
Oops.
it's not found to pose a danger to the community and.
Right. And I mean, that's why we have things in there like a nearby water source. So they're
Mhm.
not going too far for that.
Okay.
Also, the fly zone barrier, it's not really intended to keep bees from wandering. It's more to direct their flight upwards. So at least when they're wandering, they're flying above normal height.
Yeah, that was the one that was particular, like a change for the people who already have the sets
Right.
there. It's a matter of, I had to look that up. It's almost like a chimney.
Kind of.
In a
yeah.
way, so
yeah.
that instead of coming straight out low and keeping on low, they start out high and stay at that altitude.
Yes.
I know about bees, so.
Oh, I've learned so much
yeah,
about
I-
bees throughout all of this. Yeah.
And just to clarify, the no-fly zone is only if it's within 40 feet of a property line.
Right. Mhm.
Were there considerations for cities that do not allow?
Did we look at ordinances that didn't
Yeah.
allow?
Like we did not
Okay.
allow
I am aware of,
beekeeping, and
yeah.
were there, did we look at other cities that did not allow and consider those as well?
There are a number that came up that just simply have in their ordinance, beekeeping is not permitted. Unfortunately, I didn't write those ones down. I only wrote down the ones that had the ordinance that we compared to, but I did come across some where it just states in the ordinance, no beekeeping is permitted within city limits or something like that. So,
I was curious. I was searching a few similar sized cities, and a lot of them, if you search, it'll say there's no specific ordinance on beekeeping, but it falls back to state
okay.
code
Yeah.
regulations. So I didn't know.
If it's not strictly denied or
Yeah, and
Or
I think it's in
restrictions.
large part because there are commercial beekeepers,
And that's what
larger
the state code is more
operations.
geared towards
Yeah.
the commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's an agricultural business that supplies large amounts of honey. So I didn't know if that was taken in consideration in looking at that. So Virginia allows municipalities just to make those decisions.
Yeah, I was
As far as
surprised.
the
I was surprised that
specific
Fairfax County
regulations.
allows up to 4 hives on any lot.
Any
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
size,
yeah.
what size, Counselor Campbell?
It just says
Any lot size?
You can increase it if you have a larger lot, but there was, any
Mhm.
lot can have 4 hives on it.
I think because there's no bees
Fairfax.
trying to attract bees.
The ordinance includes a rationale, but maybe you would say a few words about why this is, we consider this to
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
appropriate and beneficial.
So from a comprehensive plan perspective, which I think will speak to this, this ordinance supports several goals and objectives outlined in the currently adopted 2018 to 2040 comprehensive plan. Mainly, it advances the key objective, that open space and environmental goals, which calls the city to take a watershed approach to protect water resources through efforts such as increasing tree canopy. And now that doesn't directly mention anything about bees, but a healthy pollinator population is a requirement for a thriving urban tree canopy and ecosystem. So this ordinance is kind of a practical way to support that process and make sure that our public and private green spaces stay beautiful.
Thank you. Do we have any other further questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing. In a moment, I will open the public hearing, and it is a time that we set aside to hear from citizens and others about the specific topic on the agenda. We ask that you please give your name and address, and then keep your remarks at 5 minutes or less. When you reach the 5-minute time limit, I will let you know that your time limit has expired. For our Zoom participants, please raise your hand now if you wish to speak on this particular public hearing. If you raise your hand during this public hearing, you will also be able to raise your hand during other public hearings as well as matters from the public. Once everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity, I will close the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we will alternate between folks present and those with their hands raised online. So if anyone wishes to speak, please approach the podium. Mr. Knight, is anyone's hands raised?
Yes, we have one hand raised.
All right. Hello, caller. Good evening, caller. Can you hear us? Good evening. Can you hear us? Is your mute?
Can
Good
you hear me
evening.
now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. This is Brenda Mead. I'm going to speak in support of beekeeping tonight. But first, I just want to say I walked through my garden this afternoon. I took photos within inches of dozens of bees of multiple kinds. And I was more likely to have my hair parted by a hummingbird than be attacked by bees in my garden. I believe the proposed standards are reasonable for safe beekeeping in urban environments. You may know that in the United States, bee sting deaths are rare, averaging 62 people a year. Folks with known allergies can take precautions like carrying an EpiPen, just as diabetics carry insulin. Many people confuse honeybees with their aggressive cousins, wasps, hornets, and bumblebees. Honeybees have barbed stingers that remain in their victim's skin, causing the honeybee to die shortly after they sting. Their survival depends on using defense rather than aggression. In contrast, hornets and wasps have smooth stingers that can sting multiple times. Honeybees are not inherently aggressive toward humans. They're defensive and will only attack if they sense a threat to their colony. Urban beekeeping improves the neighborhood ecosystems because they pollinate plants and trees in parks and gardens, which promotes fruiting and seed production. The agricultural industry would suffer and perhaps even die without bees. Lastly, honey from local hives are a popular product at farmers market for people who prefer to buy from local producers. It's good for our economy. I strongly support this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Is there anyone present who would like to speak?
Evening, Constance Birch, 319 Mary Gray Lane.
Good evening, Ms. Birch.
Thank you, councilors. I strongly oppose having bees in the city of Staunton. I live on a small 50-foot lot, and it's just hard for me to imagine flying insects being controlled so that they only stay on a path. Yeah, science says they do, but it just is hard for me to understand. I didn't hear, maybe I missed it in the presentation, anything about if the beehive needed to be so far from property lines. Nothing was said except someone mentioned that in another community, they allowed up to 4 beehives on any size lot. I don't think we said anything about lot size. I sent emails to council today. I'm sorry I didn't do it sooner, but I just saw the public hearing in today's newspaper. I think the exceptions could be made for areas like Bell's Lane. Some other properties are large. If they have several acres and are keeping the bees at a certain distance from the property lines. Staunton is a beautiful city, and they keep replacing flowers and trees. So I don't personally see that as a big problem. We had a lot of rain earlier this season, and I have zinnias that are as tall, almost as tall as I am. So I don't think we have a real problem with pollination. I know it's very important. Brenda Mead's figures and mine are a little different. And I don't know what source to cite, but I read that there are 220,000 visits to the ER a year for bee stings. I worked in a public school where one child had to carry an EpiPen, and each of us was instructed in how to administer that. I just prayed it would never be me, and it wasn't. And pretty soon she was old enough to understand how important it was. There are, according to my statistics, 50 to 70 deaths a year from bee stings. I was once going door to door, and I said all this, I think, at the last council meeting, but maybe people here, I hope, are interested, that I was with a young man. We were knocking on doors for a good cause. I don't remember what. And he panicked. He said a bee went up his pant leg, and I could see how upset he was. We had to find a place where he could remove it. In my opinion, bees and agriculture belong in the county, and this is an urban area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised?
No other hands raised at this time.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this subject? Oh. Terrific. Good evening and welcome.
Evening. My name is James Hazlett. I live at 1959 Shutterley Mill. I'd like to voice my, I really support this resolution to provide for residential apiaries. I think it can really enrich our community and our environment at the same time. It's a great learning experience for adults and children alike. And I will say, in contrast to the previous speaker, that Stanton is a very diverse environment where not every part of the city is a number of houses right next to each other. I have almost 8 acres, and I have cows on one side and cows on the other side, and I'm in the city. So there is agriculture, within the city, and yeah, I really think that it's something that I enjoy, that really enriches my life and my children's life. And although it can be, there are individuals who do have allergies. It is rare. And it's not uncommon for me to have a number of children on my property, and there have not been issues to this date with any. Generally, honeybees aren't aggressive unless you mess with them. You mess with the hive, or maybe if you step on one or something, then potentially then at that point they might sting you. But even at that point, it's not the worst thing in the world, generally speaking. Those that do have allergies and know they have allergies then would generally be expected to take a precautionary measure just as a general course of action for their own personal health, just in general, regardless of the whatever amendment might be passed by the city. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hazlitt. Appreciate it. Mr. Knight, do we have a hand raised?
We have no hands raised.
All right. Do we have any more speakers this evening? All right, going once. Public use hearing is now closed.
I will clarify just for
All
those in
right.
attendance and listening online that the agenda packet that can be found online has the full ordinance in there. And there are regulations to make sure it's appropriate for lot sizes. You have to have at least 7,500 square foot lot to be able to have a hive. And then it's a certain number as it increases in size. They also have to be set back at least 15 feet from property lines. And if they're within 40 feet, they have to have the no-fly zone that we were discussing to direct them upwards. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Counselor Campbell.
As designed so many of the small, close together neighborhoods, you can't have ones right there next to the other ones. That was a key part of this whole thing going through.
Thank you. If there is no other discussion, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Campbell,
I move that council adopt the ordinance and approve the amendment as recommended by the Planning Commission.
thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Blair, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And thanks to the Planning Commission and Mr. Rhodes and Maggie for the work that you put into this for over a year. And it was, Ms. Birch, to make sure that it was extremely safe for the community following those regulations. So thank you all very much to staff. Moving on to item D, another public hearing. I'm sorry, on to item C, another public hearing in consideration of a comprehensive mass rezoning of existing legally non-conforming residential properties in the city's historic districts and South Side. Ms. Beauregard.
Tim Hartless, the planning manager, will present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Hartless.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Historically, there are many properties in Staunton that have been used as homes. They were built as homes, but they're zoned for business or industrial use. And this creates some real challenges for these property owners. This situation where you have this house that's zoned business or industrial is what we call legally non-conforming. And a legally non-conforming structure cannot be rebuilt if it was ever damaged beyond 50% of its value. If the house was ever vacant for more than 2 years, then it has to revert to a business or an industrial use. It can't be reused as a house. And it also creates challenges when an owner wants to buy or sell. A lot of banks oftentimes don't want to loan money on a house when they have no assurance that it will continue to be able to be used as a house. So in the past, staff has addressed these challenges, these difficulties on a case-by-case basis. We've rezoned them one property at a time. But in 2010, as part of the update of our comprehensive plan, staff identified these areas where the majority of these properties existed. And after the comp plan was adopted, we began going through the city area by area, rezoning all of these homes. We started in 2012 with West Beverly, then we Churchill Avenue, Inglewood Drive, Spring Hill Road, North Augusta, North Coulter, Winchester Avenue. And then most recently in 2024, we rezoned 63 properties in Uniontown right off of Richmond Avenue. So at the request of the Planning Commission, we've most recently been looking at areas in the 5 historic districts and on the south side, and also anywhere else where we might have missed something in the past. The planning week staff compiled a list of all of these properties, and the Planning Commission conducted a series of field trips, and they visited each one of these properties. And then in January or June, on June 11th, staff held a public meeting in the cafeteria at Staunton High School. We sent out letters to all of the subject property owners and adjacent owners and invited them to come, and it gave us an opportunity to explain to them the purpose of the rezoning and the benefits of rezoning these properties. We also gave them the option to opt out of the rezoning if they felt like it wasn't a good idea for their specific situation. So we began the process with a list of 88 properties. We had 3 property owners that opted out. So now the current list is 85 properties. Planning Commission conducted a public hearing at its August 21st meeting. No one spoke in opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission unanimously on a 5-0 vote recommended approval of this mass rezoning. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now, or I can come back after the public hearing.
Just a clarification, any of these rezonings where you guys are basically revising things and kind of doing updates on it, everyone can opt out, like you said, and that does not cost them anything at all, and they can keep the zoning that they currently have.
Yes, they can opt out. This particular mass rezoning, we did not charge any property owners. If in the future they decide that they change their mind and they want to rezone their property, at that time, they would be subject to the standard rezoning fee.
What is the standard rezoning?
$250.
Any questions for Mr. Hartless? All righty. Thank you, Mr. Hartless. We'll start the public hearing. I'll now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak on this topic, please approach the podium and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those who have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is for item C only, and you are asked not to speak on any topic that doesn't relate to it. So if you would like to speak, please approach the podium and say your name and address. Is there any hand raised on Zoom?
We have no hands raised at this time.
No one wishes to speak. I will go ahead, sir. Please come forward. Yes, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir. Good.
Members of the council, my name is Andrew Hanna, and for the last 3 years, I have owned and resided at one of the properties that Mr. Hartness referenced, namely number 10 Fayette Street. I am what you might call a gentrifier. My wife and I retired from our positions in higher education and real estate in Chicago, Illinois 3 years ago. And after an extensive study of properties and neighborhoods and towns up and down the East Coast, we decided on Staunton as where we wanted to live upon our retirement. Since we obtained, since we bought our house back in November of 2022, we have met a lot of confusion from our realtor, from our bank, from our contractors, from the Historical Foundation, and from the Staunton permit planning offices about what exactly is the zoning of our property. It was one of those houses that was built as a single-family home in 1903 and remained in the ownership of the builder and his family until the last surviving son passed away in 1958, at which time it was converted into a two-flat upstairs and downstairs. My understanding is that it was therefore blanket rezoned, or when zoning occurred, it was blanketly put into the business zone because it was a two-flat. But the house, if you look at it, and everyone who in the neighborhood who has associated with it knows it's a single-family home, and the conversion to a two-flat was never appropriate. We have, since purchasing it, gone through the Historical Foundation and the planning permitting process twice for exterior improvements. And we are still in the process of converting what were two apartments into a single residence. I'm happy to say that when we recently had the property reappraised, we found that the price of the property had increased 50% over the last 2 years. We assume that's based on the improvements that we made, which were not inexpensive. We had the whole thing re-roofed, we had it repainted, we had all new HVAC installed and so on. So just to assure you, we are not fly-by-night gentrifiers, and we're in it for the long haul. So really, I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward, Mr. Hartness and the other members of the Planning Commission. This allows us, this eliminates a great deal of confusion going forward. And we look forward to a long and successful life living in Staunton. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and welcome, Mr. Hannah. Thank you. Any hands raised, Mr. Knight?
We have no hands raised.
And would anyone else like to speak on this topic? Good evening. Well,
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Bennett. I'm at the 920 West Beverly Street, which is the old Bible Way Church, and my zoning on my building is legally non-conforming. I have all the issues that you're talking about with the residents that are around it. But if this is any way in trying to make a block completely residential to block me getting it rezoned, I'm objecting to the rezoning of West Beverly Street. West Beverly Street is a very dangerous location. There is no traffic enforcement. There's no compliance enforcement. There's a building that's open with asbestos in it that is, a danger to the subdivision there or the housing there or anybody there. He isn't in compliance with keeping his property maintained. A lot of the improvements I have done, his building is damaged since I've been there for 5 years. People as far as the traffic enforcement, have taken out 3 electric poles in 5 years. Speed limit's only 15 through there, and it's just a dangerous place to have little kids or think you can have families. So that's my objection.
thank you, Ms. Bennett. Do we have any hands raised?
We have no hands raised.
Would anyone else like to speak on this subject? All righty. Public hearing is now closed.
I do have one question for Mr. Hartless. Make your way. It looks like, I mean, these are not all contiguous, but were a lot of these part of that 1968 mass rezoning of properties or zoning in general of properties in the city, or?
I can't tell you how many of them for sure were, but I can tell you that.
I mean,
a
Uniontown
large,
was.
yeah, a large portion of these were part of that 1969.
69, okay.
Yeah, a comprehensive rezoning.
It seems like we're forever, I mean, most of my time in planning commission, I'm sure Adams as well, you guys were chasing this. This was when a outside firm in Illinois, sorry, was hired and seemed to just sort of sit there with a map going, that would be nice. And it didn't really have a lot to do with what some houses had been there by that time for, 80 years and we're still house cleaning from that too. So this is it's a continual process. I was happy to see Uniontown on this as well, and this is the one that puts that in TRD, the zoning designation that we had to create for that because those are a lot of small lots together, and there's something that would be legally non-conforming today, but makes up part of the fabric of that particular neighborhood. So I'm very happy to see that going through in here, but overall, this looks like just kind of correcting this to match current use.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. We're trying to acknowledge what actually exists on the ground. I'm not sure that the consultants back in '69 ever actually looked at what existed there. So I'm hoping this is the last mass rezoning that we have to do. We'll probably come across individual properties in the future that we'll need to rezone, but I think this is the last big one like this.
A lot of professional out there downtown.
A mass rezoning, and yet I'd like to reiterate that folks have the opportunity
Yeah.
to opt out.
For free.
And as you said, many homes were being used as businesses and they could revert back to being residential zoning if that was the underlying zoning. Yes. So.
Thank you.
understood. Yeah, thank you.
Well,
Any other questions for staff or comments?
well, with that in mind, if everybody's ready, I'd like to say I move the council adopt the ordinance and approve the rezoning of 85 properties as recommended by the planning commission.
Is there a se- oh,
A
go ahead.
second.
There discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Miss Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Miss Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. That takes us to item D, public hearing and consideration of ordinance for a lease renewal with new Singular Wireless. Ms. Beauregard.
John Blair is going to walk through this item this evening. He's making his way up.
The long way. This.
Yeah.
Getting some steps in.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I did walk my way through the item,
Oh, gosh.
so.
Okay, Mr. Blair, would you like to
Anyway.
get started?
Good evening, Mayor Edwards and council. Before you tonight is a lease renewal for New Singular Wireless to have wireless equipment on the Shutterley Mill water tank. There have been 3 extensions of the original 2005 lease, the last occurring in January of 2021. This lease extension would follow the same provisions. It would be for 5 years. It would be a 1.5% yearly increase on the base rent, which is $46,595 per year. Happy to take any questions.
Hearing crickets. Does
Yeah,
anyone
I
have
got
any
a couple of
questions for Mr. Blair? I'm gonna say this is
Are
a,
there any other leases on that same property?
I believe there are, yeah.
all right, well, there are no questions for Mr. Blair. Folks, I will open the public, there's a public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak, please approach the podium and we'll alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised on Zoom. Again, this is a public hearing for item D only. So if you would like to speak on Singular Wireless, please approach the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. Mr. Lang, do we have anyone with a hand raised?
Madam Mayor, we have no hands raised.
Would anyone like to speak? Still no hands raised?
No hands raised.
Public hearing is now closed. I
Make a motion.
will entertain a motion.
I move that city council adopt an ordinance authorizing the execution of the fourth amendment to lease agreement, extending the term of the existing lease with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for an additional 5 years.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Woods. Any further discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Overholtzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Which takes us to matters from the city manager.
Madam
Mhm.
Mayor,
Mhm.
I have a few items this evening. The first one is the SAW Regional Radio Team started coverage testing on Monday, September 8th. So far, the testing has been very successful on inbound and outbound communication. Testing will continue for the next 2 weeks in Waynesboro and Augusta County, and Mr. Kurt Plowman, our IT director, will present an update on the SAW Regional Radio Project at the October 9th meeting. As part of the comprehensive plan's public engagement, staff has partnered with Staunton High School's local government classes to integrate youth perspectives into the city's planning process. The project is designed to be a hands-on collaborative experience for the students. This will include students researching community assets and interviewing their peers to gather a broad range of ideas for what they want to see in Staunton's future. Then each student will synthesize their findings into a central big idea and deliver a final presentation on their vision for the city. This partnership provides direct feedback on the plan from youth, an audience that is at times overlooked during these planning processes. Staff is also exploring the possibility of student participation in the next workshop in November. The city will be kicking off its biennial community survey in October. And you'll hear more about this at the next meeting. Approximately 3,000 randomly selected households will receive a postcard with a link to participate in the community survey. These same households will also receive a paper copy of the survey a few days later if they feel more comfortable participating in that way. There will then be a separate electronic community-wide survey available later in the fall for anyone to participate in. And then finally, September is Discover Tri Transit Month, and Bright is holding a free fare day on Wednesday, September 17th. That's next Wednesday. Ride any Bright route for free and explore all Bright has to offer. Route information is available on racks outside council chambers and also available online at brightbus.org. And that is all I have this evening.
Beauregard. And this takes us to our last item, matters from the public. It is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of the Staunton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online on the City of Staunton's website. You are asked to please familiarize yourself with those rules before commenting. If you would like to speak, please come to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. First, give us your name and address and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. As a reminder, this is a time for council to listen. If you would like an answer to a question or a from a question, please speak with City Manager Leslie Beauregard after the meeting. Well, please approach the podium if you'd like to speak. Good evening again, Ms. Birch.
Constance Birch, 319 Mary Gray Lane. This is about communication. I'm an old lady, but I'm not I might be a vocal old lady, but I'm not the only old lady in Staunton. And I wonder how the city communicated with people before social media. I don't go on social media very often. I know how to use email, and the telephone, but when the boil water directive came down, I was lucky that a friend and neighbor called me and told me before I got up that I needed to boil water, and I never did hear when it was safe to use the water again. And I don't know if you have any influence with the newspaper in Staunton. We only have one newspaper, so it's the only one we can use. But I think Hiram Opie would be turning over in his grave if he knew what was happening now. Specifically, obituaries. Obituaries are so expensive that I find people are no longer putting them in the newspaper. They are someplace, if you know which funeral home, or if you go to all the funeral homes, where there's probably other places on social media, which I'm not familiar with. And when you get to my age, there are a lot of funerals, and everybody knows old people read the obituaries. So I'm just concerned and disappointed. Okay, my daughter tells me I need to be able to change, but change is hard. So I just wonder if somebody would give some thought to other ways that you communicate besides what you're using now. I guess what you're using now is mostly social media. And this garbage club, oh my gosh, we're spending so much time on trying to remember what day to put out that trash and what day to put out the regular trash. And I was told by Public Works that they gave me a calendar, but I don't have it and I can't find it on the internet. And I'm afraid to ask them for a new calendar because I don't know what that would mean. So I put my garbage out last week because it was the first Wednesday. That thing is almost as tall as I am and a little bit wider. And it's pretty heavy to drag down to the street, but I don't have a yard boy. So, but it didn't get picked up. So I was told that I called Public Works. I was told that because of the holiday, but how are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to know that the garbage is sometimes picked up, that the yard trash is sometimes picked up on one day and sometimes on another? So, this may not affect everybody, but as I say, there are a lot of old people, and it would be good if we had other ways of communication. I do read the newspaper. I know a lot of people have stopped taking it because they're so disappointed with it. But as I say, it's the only one in town. Thank you for your consideration. I know somebody will probably answer me.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised?
We have no hands raised right now.
Good evening. Welcome, Ms. Connors.
Good evening, Cindy Connors, 106A Skyline Avenue. Last meeting, a gentleman spoke about the issues at the wharf, and I just thought that I would share a personal story about 3 times I've had this experience in the last 2 weeks where tourists, or people from out of town, whether visitors, whatever, from out of town, said to me, I thought that whole area was closed down. There's all those orange barriers. And I was able to tell them, you know, you just go over here and you can park over there, or you can walk across, wherever. See, you know, you see those cars over there, the businesses are full. They're still open. And so, you know, and immediately I thought of the gentleman at the microphone, at the last meeting, and he had, you know, there were a couple suggestions. Maybe we change from the big, ugly, orange, scary barriers to those white little pole things that look a little less intimidating, less like the area is condemned. But also, when we started building the courthouse on West Beverly, a big banner was put up that said that the businesses were still open there. And I don't know why we couldn't do that. So we could add some signage that says parking lot entrance, go that way. And yes, the businesses are open, because I think they have a really valid, like he said, he understood the problem, but I think they have a very valid point and something really simple that we could do to help them out. I'm really excited. Thank you for the big cleanup again in the fall. I think fall for me is my cleanup time, not the spring. So I really appreciate that. Of course, the pickers took my stuff almost right away. I did talk to a couple of you about the incident we had, the shooting a week or so ago. Well, was it 2 weeks ago now, I guess. And the second one in the neighborhood. And so I did talk to Captain Brown, and I did talk to the sheriff, and everybody's been very, you know, listened and concerned also. And we hope that that was sort of contained, isolated. Those people knew each other thing. But you know, there were kids right across my neighbor's kids, their yard, catty corners right to their yard, and they were all out in the yard playing. It's pretty scary. So anything that can be done to keep an eye on our neighborhood and the area of the West End, we would greatly appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Connors. Mr. Knight, are there hands raised?
There are no hands raised.
Would anybody here like to speak at the podium? Good evening, welcome.
Well, thank you. First off, a bit of infrastructure thing. First off, the elevator was turned off. And there wasn't anything saying that you have to go through this door up here. And then I noticed that the eagle is facing the wall over there. So at the last meeting, I asked about how local law enforcement can verify the identities of alleged federal agents coming into Staunton. And I'm wondering, has there been any feedback from the chief and the sheriff yet?
Mr. Milne, this isn't a back and forth, but I'm happy to talk to you after.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Milne. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Do we have a hand raised?
We have no hands raised.
Hello, my name is Deborah Kushner, and I'm a Staunton City resident. On Monday, the Supreme Court overturned a federal judge's order that in essence okays racial profiling. And now federal agents in Los Angeles can stop and question people based on the color of their skin, their language or accent, and where they work. The Fourth Amendment hasn't yet been overturned, but apparently it looks like it's on its way out. Unhoused people are being jailed for violating civil ordinances that criminalize sitting, sleeping, or just existing. And other groups, immigrants, people with disabilities, and the poor all encounter systems that look, sound, and feel punitive. Due process also seems to no longer apply. None of us wants more crime in Staunton, but empathy gives me pause to consider the trauma of many of our community that live right now daily in fear of workplace raids or even speaking in public with an accent. Othering our neighbors doesn't bring us closer or safer. Since February, 246 Valley residents from Lexington to Winchester have been taken, the vast majority from Harrisonburg and Rockingham County. Some were taken without warrants. Some were even with their kids at the time of their detainment. Some of their kids were notified of their parents' detentions during school hours, so they couldn't even answer the notification. An 8-year-old child with autism's single parent was taken. And on August 26th, ICE profiled a U.S. citizen who was arrested and held for several hours before being released. A mother was taken from her kids on the way to the medical appointment. A broken taillight caused a traffic stop where a Puerto Rican, a U.S. citizen, was detained. Tell any one of these people or their families that more cameras are nothing for them to worry about, and they should just trust. In some neighborhoods with only one way in and out, people aren't even leaving to work, go to school, or medical appointments if there's a car at that entrance for fear of being stopped. ICE is using traffic stops to screen people to see if they can kidnap them. And I'm curious if this council would be willing to put out a public statement that the misdemeanor of being undocumented doesn't warrant racial profiling, family separation, or detainment. Is keeping families together a possible city council statement for the public? The increasing number of cameras won't stop crime, not even when Flock, the camera manufacturer, pushes out its plan to deploy drones within 90 seconds of a report of a crime. I have empathy for my neighbors who don't have the entitlement most of us here have. Trust is much easier for those of us with privilege. Many feel that we have nothing to fear if we haven't done anything wrong. I and the ACLU feel our Fourth Amendment right to privacy should be upheld. The week's excellent Augusta Free Press article on Flock cameras made critical points. Other localities have dramatically shortened the data retention period. Some don't share data with other jurisdictions, which limits the possibility of human error and misuse that even Chief Williams agrees can happen. 6 cameras will constitute the pilot program. How many are planned for the post program? I think I remember 9. I'm not sure, but I would love a follow-up about that. And that's another possible compromise. Keep the number limited to those that are already installed. And my big question, how will we gauge success for these cameras? In numbers or in a feeling? Will we ever feel safe without basics like knowing our neighbors and acting collectively? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kushner. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised?
We have one hand raised.
Thank you. Hello, caller.
This is Brenda Mead. I live in Staunton. I'd like to support what Deborah Kushner just said, that and I want to also add, I have tremendous respect for our current police chief, Jim Williams, but this is not about the individual. City Council has a responsibility to provide oversight, and the cities of Charlottesville and Richmond have both taken steps to limit access to outside agencies and to reduce the retention of images. I think that, and I'll make this request via a FOIA request, since I very seldom get responses from City Council when I write emails to you. I would like the city to provide statistics on how the technology is proving to be effective. In the second, it would be to support what Constance said earlier. I fully appreciate and respect the job that our city did around the boil water alert and the emergency that took place. I am not limited in technology. And so I was able to get those alerts and on a timely basis and respond accordingly. But those who are marginalized, and I don't mean to imply that Constance is marginalized, but as she said herself, she's old and not familiar with technology. But there are other people in our community who are marginalized and unable to receive these kinds of alerts. I think this would be a perfect use of our DEI commission so that when we're planning for future emergencies, not to respond immediately because we don't want, as Mr. Arrowood said to me, response by committee, but this would be advanced planning for future emergencies and to do better communications with marginalized community. Use the DEI commission. That's what they're there for. Thank you. Again, this is Brenda Mead.
Thank you very much for your call. Would anyone else like to speak this evening, please?
Hey.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thanks. Hey, I'm Shannon Harrington. I live at 204 North Coulter Street. I just want to dovetail on what Deborah said and also what Brenda said about a couple of things. The cameras, right? Like people really, in general, do not like to be surveyed. I think in the macro, it can seem like a good idea. But when we ask each other, like, do you want to be tracked around? Like, we can share our locations with people. We probably don't share our locations with everyone, right? We don't really, probably as people, want a third party watching what we're doing in our normal everyday lives, just being free people in America and in Staunton. So I kind of wanted to weigh in on that too. I think those things can get kind of out of control kind of quickly and a little bit difficult to roll back. So once we are putting up cameras, like when do we take them down? Once we get footage, who has access to those pieces of information? And for people who are less privileged than me and other people in this room who may feel less safe. There's that. Also, on what Deborah was saying, you know, this has crossed my mind. And when the executive branch decided that they were going to send in the National Guard to Chicago, the leadership in Chicago said, we want you to respect our residents. And we want you to respect our residents in the same way that we expect that our law enforcement respects our residents. I know Chief Williams, I know Captain Brown, I know Sheriff Hartless, all these people I know personally. I believe that they respect the residents here, and they don't wear masks, right? They do wear body cameras that the footage can be FOIA'd. They do provide who they are. They don't act in a stealth way. And I think that we are very fortunate in Staunton to have a nice relationship in general in that way. And so I was thinking, you know, when Deborah was talking, I wasn't sure that I was going to get up and share about this, although I've been thinking about it, like I said. If we were to make some sort of a proclamation about current events and what's happening, wouldn't it maybe be nice to say like, hey, we as Staunton would like to say, if there are folks who come in from outside, as they have been doing in Harrisonburg, as they've been doing in other areas around here, as a community, we will require professionalism and transparency. I'm under no illusion that that means that that will happen. At the same time, right, culture and our mission statement about respect between our community members and our governing body and our law enforcement is really a thing here, and it's noteworthy. And I'm a real estate broker. I've been doing it for a long time. You always hear that from people like, wow, people are walking down the street and they're asking me how I am, and they're like really asking. You know, this is different than other places. And I think it would be within our culture and within our mission statement to say, hey, you know what? We just kind of want to say in advance of any of this that if we have folks that do come in here from the federal government to do this job, we're not really cool with them covering their faces and browbeating our residents. The stats that Deborah, where were you at, Deborah? That Deborah read out are astounding. You know, and we all have read reports about the violence that's happened. We don't want to see that toward our residents. And I think it would be strong to just get ahead of that and say, you know what, if that happens, this is how we expect our residents to be treated in the same way that our law enforcement respects our residents. And then in response, generally is respected back. So I think that that would be a culturally appropriate statement for us to make as a locality. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Is there a hand raised on the Zoom platform?
We have no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Aaron Barmer. I live at 204 East Beverly Street. So today is the 24th. It's been 24 years since planes flew into buildings. At least 3,000 Americans died in acts of terrorism. It's kind of wild. I serve Staunton in many ways, and while I have only been elected in a small capacity to serve on one of our illustrious committees, which I'm privileged to serve and proud to serve, in my 48 years on Earth, it has come to my attention that politics is dead in the water without euphemisms. And a day like 9/11, and then yesterday, September 10th, a well-known provocateur and notorious and well-heeled bigot was assassinated in public in front of a large crowd on a college campus. Yet another school shooting in America. Gun violence is what we call this. We call this gun violence in America. A country where there's probably 3 times more firearms than people, easily. We call it gun violence. United States First Amendment says I can say whatever I want. I could swear every one of you up and down and then still come back next week. Second Amendment says I can carry a long gun in, you know, up and down the street, long as I'm not pointing at everybody and exercising trigger discipline. Nobody can say boo to me. But here in this country, what we're talking about is political violence now. Political violence. Let's talk about political violence. We don't call it political violence, do we? When, what is it, Central Avenue gets bulldozed in the 50s by members of this very council. We don't call that political violence, do we? We call that gentrification. We don't call it political violence when Medicaid is ripped away from disabled people, do we? No, we're only talking about putting bullets in bigots. Suddenly, when the president's biggest backer gets a bullet in his neck, it's political violence. It's not political violence when on the same day as this notable bigot gets assassinated, just north of him in Colorado, a high school got shot up. 2 kids were sent to the ER. Another kid shot him. More gun violence. But it's weird. We're calling that school shooting a school shooting. Why aren't we calling that political violence? Because it's the politicians in that town. They're allowed to make ordinances about what goes on in their town. It's the politicians in that state. They're allowed to make ordinances about what happens in that state. It's the representatives of that state. They're allowed to make laws about what happens in their states with their guns. How come we don't call it political violence? So we've got previous speakers talking about federal agents. And it takes people coming to this podium, lectern, to discuss with this council what is the problem with getting a statement out on September 11th. How many months, how many Americans have now been illegally ripped off the street and away from their families? We've had Stantonians captured, held without due process. Not a peep. Has the school board said anything in public? City council has nothing to say. During the uprisings after the murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, when activists in this town worked to remove the racist sign atop a hotel in this town, successful, I might add, thank goodness, we had to struggle. And it was only the conscience of one good city council member who finally crossed the picket line, evidently, to put out a statement pretty much on his own.
Mr. Barmer, your time is up now.
Thanks so much. Put out a statement before someone else gets kidnapped from Staunton.
Thank you, Mr. Barmer. Do we have any hands raised, Mr. Knight?
We have no hands raised.
Would anybody else like to speak this evening? This meeting of the Staunton City Council is adjourned. Thank you.